Welcome to the Rams Postgame Show. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me live from Arizona is Gilbert Manzano, the beat reporter for the for the Daily News. Sorry, for the LA Daily News and the Orange County Register. Gilbert, how was this win uh, for the Rams today?
Victor, I kind of I could feel the error you're about to commit, but you didn't, so it's fine. And I'm gonna just take a shot at you to summarize this Rams game. They're okay. It started off smoothly, a little clunky, and then it kind of got a little stale there. But they closed it out, Victor. It was 20-12, a weird score right there. 4 field goals from the Cardinals, Matt Prater, and both teams could not hit the end zone. Matthew Stafford didn't get a touchdown. Cooper Kupp got the touchdown on the end around. But it wasn't pretty, kind of like what we said last week, Victor, with the Falcons game for the Rams. Uh, there was no, collapse here, it felt like, at all. It was such a strange game, Victor. I'll start off with that. But, they got it done. Divisional game, NFC West in Arizona. I'm here, in Glendale, Arizona. So it was a nice day today. It was hot, but strange game. I'll start with that.
Yeah, it was a weird game. Like it started out like the defense played well. They only gave up four field goals. They held Kyler Murray in check, and the offense just struggled today. There was just like you got a bunch of field goals from their field goal kicker, and so it was just even every time you thought they were okay, this is where they're gonna put it away. Even Cam Akers then fumbles. So but what were your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, I think I keep going back to the mixed offense that we can't figure out what this offense is, Victor. They started out 13-0. Like that first quarter was flawless. It was sensational. They got
Yeah.
people going. Like at one point, it was like Kendall Blanton, who just came back. Had a big play. I think for 20 something yards. Ben Skowronek making a play down the field. You got Cooper Kupp with the rushing touchdown. Tyler Higbee was involved. I think there was 4 guys who had one catch of at least 14 yards. I think I tweeted out, and
Yep. In the first half. Yeah.
yeah, none of them included Allen Robinson. So that showed you they were spreading the ball around. And then the second and third quarters, what happened there? It was such a slow game, and they were up 13-0, and you thought that the Cardinals would make them pay with Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown, and it never got to that point because they kept settling for field goals. And maybe I'm focusing on the wrong part, Victor. I'm probably gonna take something that you want to say, but maybe credit to the defense more because
Yep.
they took away all the deep plays. They were making them work, in a slow approach. Okay, you want to take this 5 yard dump off, go ahead, but we're gonna make you work. And I think Sean McVay kept saying like, yeah, we want to give him another snap, take another snap here and there because Kyler Murray can make you pay in a hurry. So. But let me bring it back to the offense. I can't figure out this identity of the team. Are they getting just creative and making it work because they don't have Van Jefferson? They have some injuries in the offensive line. So, you saw the creativity, especially on the end around for Cooper Kupp. But after that, I don't know what happened. No turnovers though, Victor, from Matthew Stafford. So,
Yeah.
but you would like to see this team, a team that just won the Super Bowl with so many talented players, score more than 20 points. And again, they could have easily got maybe 31-10 and close out this game much sooner. But shout out to Cam Akers, the running back. He gave them a spark at the end when they really needed it. I think they had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs, and then Matthew Stafford threw that pretty rifle to Cooper Kupp on 30-11, and after that, Cam Akers really took over.
Yeah, it was like you said. Let me just give you guys some quick stats here. That way you can kind of fill in the gap for some of the game here. Matthew Stafford finished 18 of 25 for 249 yards. But one of the things that come out of this was Matthew Stafford's first game as a Ram without a touchdown. So that was something. That we haven't seen since he's been in a Rams uniform. And then, of course, like who would have thought Ben Skowronek leads all receivers with four catches and 66 yards. This was the fewest yards Cooper Kupp has had for a while now. So and it ended a couple of streaks here for Kupp, who had 15 straight games of 90 yards or more, and also failed to record 5 catches for the first time in 24 games. So there you go, Gilbert.
Yeah, that's like the weird thing. It's like Cooper Cup didn't have like a dominant game, but he had that nice rushing touchdown. That's a streak, right? The touchdown streak. He kept that alive. So a lot occurred here with Cooper Cup. Like, and I think at one point I kept staring at the stat sheet, and he was stuck at 33 receiving yards for the longest, um, and I guess he had one more or a couple after that. But yeah, Ben Skowronek did his job as a receiver and as a fullback. He had the key block on Cam Akers' uh, rushing touchdown. So again, I'm getting a lot of love to the offense, but it was good to see Cam Akers, find his rhythm. He was showing the burst that I kept seeing in training camp. Victor, I kept telling people Cam Akers is the guy instead of Henderson because of what he displayed today. I was seeing in the summer,
Yes.
and he just couldn't do it. He couldn't get the rhythm, and he got that drive when they were really hurting. I think that was my lead in the story. Check it out, the OC Register, LA Daily News, and he ripped off 4 straight runs to get him into the end zone when it was like 13-9, I think. I forget. So the game was still very close, and I think he had like 2 yards. I mean, 2 carries of 14 yards, one for 5, one for 6, and that last one, man, that was a tough, angry run, and he got the help from Ben Skowronek there. So and also it didn't feel like it, but they got 100 rushing yards total in this game for the Rams. They still have a lot of work to do in the rushing game, but to get 100, that was big especially for the passing game that couldn't really figure it out. With Cooper Cup and Allen Robinson, I forget what the stats were. Maybe it was like 2 catches for
Two
something
catches. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
small. So
Yeah.
again, it feels like a really weird game for the offense, but 20 points was enough, and that's credit to the defense. Again, I'm keep forgetting about. I'm gonna give them credit for what they did with Kyler Murray. Victor, 2 carries for 8 yards for Kyler Murray. He was not the escape artist he was a week ago. They brought him back down to earth, and that's something you could do. Or you take away from this game is to remember that you limited the scramble plays, the rushing yards for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I want to get to the defense, but let me just keep talking about Cam Akers because I want to give him credit here because he was great in that third quarter, and I know people are going to talk about that fumble and whether he has fumble issues going forward, but like you said in that third quarter, I think he was the spark. They were starting to the Rams were starting to fall behind on some plays and stuff, and you could tell that the Cardinals were starting to feed off of that, and then the Rams, when McVay started using the running backs, especially Cam Akers, and the way he ran him like up through the tackles was great. The way he ran was also really good to see. Like you said, he like ran angry. Like I'm sure we'll see some of those tomorrow with Brand on Good Morning Football. Some angry runs from Cam Akers, but yeah, it was great to see. Like usually you see the balance with him and Daryl Henderson. Today in the second half, I think he was the difference, and it was what led to the win tonight today.
Yeah, yeah, and a quick story about that. I think Sean McVay said that after the fumble, he spoke to Cam Akers and he said, I still trust you, man. I know you had that fumble, you can't do the fumble, but what you did in this game before that, I'm not gonna forget that. This is the guy who I wanted. This is the guy I challenged. Remember after week one against the loss to the Bills, it's like we need some urgency, man. You got to step it up. And when they needed somebody to step up, it was definitely Cam Akers. He changed the whole momentum. And then Sean McVay said that if, say, the Cardinals would have scored quickly or they would have left the field quickly, the 4-minute drill would have gone through Cam Akers. Cam Akers was going to close the show regardless, but because of the slow approach from the Cardinals offense and the Rams defense, that final drive felt like forever, Victor. And then they went to the onside kick. It never materialized for Cam Akers to redeem himself. But Sean McVay said, "I'm not going to forget what he did because that was the last thing that occurred was a fumble." So they have trust in each other, and that was big for Cam Akers to do that.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I was really impressed with how he ran tonight. But I wanted to get to, we're already 10 almost 10 minutes into this, and we haven't talked about Aaron Donald and his milestone. He becomes the fastest defensive tackle to reach 100 sacks. So I mean, he's been impressive. The only guy that he needs to catch now is John Randall, Hall of Famer from the Minnesota Vikings, John Randall. Can you give me like did you guys talk about that in the locker room and how did he say anything about it?
Yeah, Aaron Donald had to shine for the milestone. He spoke to the reporters. He wanted to get out of there because he's not really a chatty guy, but because it's such a big milestone day for him. He mentioned it. He didn't say too much about it, but it's something he's going to look back on when he's like retired, and we don't know when that's going to be. But to get 100 sacks, and then the way he did it, that was kind of cool. Like he
Yeah.
slammed the ground and got part of Kyler Murray's feet, and that was enough to bring him down. I know Kyler's a smaller dude, but to get him escaping the pocket, to bring him down with pretty much a couple fingers and slamming it to the ground, that was pretty cool to do. So yeah, and credit to them, Aaron Donald, Greg Gaines, another defensive tackle who doesn't get a lot of shine, had a great game. That kind of rhymes. Greg Gaines had a great game. So at one point, one of the keys that Justin Hollins told me in the locker room, I think Friday, was keeping the defensive line fresh, rotate a lot of guys, and I kept seeing Michael Hoyt. I kept seeing Marquise Copeland. Hopefully, I'm saying his name right. But Michael Hoyt had the pump block to start the game, and he was
Mhm.
keeping Aaron Donald, Greg Gaines, Ashawn Robinson fresh. Uh, the edge rushers were keeping control of the edges. They didn't let Kyler Murray escape. Leonard Floyd, Terrell Lewis, and Justin Hollins, and then even Tack McKinley came out for a couple games. So that was something that the defensive line, really should take a lot of credit for this game, especially when I go back and I look at the stat sheets: 2 carries for 8 yards for Kyler Murray. So that was insane. And then didn't even touch on the secondary that did not have any
Oh,
uh,
I have
corners.
something for you, by the
Okay,
way, on
so
that. So let me just tell you about Darian Kendrick.
yeah,
He stepped in for Troy Hill and Kobe Durant, and he led the team in tackles along with Bobby Wagner. And I know if you have an update about him, because I think he left with a concussion, or
yeah,
he's being. Can you let us know about that? And then
yeah.
his performance, of course.
Yeah, he's being evaluated for a concussion. I don't know if he's in the protocol. Let me double check. But he didn't speak to the reporters. I wanted to talk to him because I think he had a decent game. I know he had some trouble with Hollywood Brown, and he's a rookie, and he was inactive the first couple of games. That's bound to happen. But let me double check here. Yeah, they haven't said an update. He's just being evaluated for a concussion. They didn't say if he had one or not, so we'll see. I'll check on that on Monday when we speak to Sean McVay. But to not have Troy Hill, David Long, Kobe Durant, and Jordan Fuller, and for that secondary to pretty much limit the big plays for Kyler Murray. Like I know Hollywood Brown had 14 catches for 140 yards, but did anybody else do anything? I don't think so. So
No.
to pretty much say, hey, you take these 5-10 yards here whenever you want, that's okay. So they had a good game plan, and I know people on Twitter were saying, "Hey, what's with this bend don't break approach? I don't like this defense right now." Well, it only led to 12 points and no touchdowns, so I know people were not happy with this bend don't break approach, but it really kind of stretched out the game too. It didn't let them have home run shots, and I think maybe that's a blueprint right there because the Rams usually dominate Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, so whatever they do it well.
Talking about dominating, this is now Sean McVay's 11th win in over the Cardinals since he took over. So his dominance over the Cardinals continues. Yeah, he's 11-1 in the last 12 games. So since he took over as Rams head coach, he's 11-1 against the Cardinals. So that's pretty impressive. The only loss was last year there in Arizona. So yeah, it's been total dominance. Was there anything that you saw from Sean McVay's play calling today that or how did you feel about his play calling?
Yeah, I think he got creative again with especially because of the Ben Skowronek play. Like he kind of planted the seeds with Ben Skowronek last week. We're like, okay, we're gonna be a smash mouth team with Skowronek leading the way and giving the ball to Darrell Henderson on that end around for Cooper Cup. I got faked out. I was looking at
I
Henderson,
I saw
and,
your Twitter feed.
but also too, like it was very quick. Like I think Stafford was a little surprised that Cooper Cup came around that quick and he gave it to him, on time. That shows the chemistry between the two guys. That like even though he came a little early, and it's better because you throw out the defense, you throw out reporters like myself who couldn't tell. So that was creative. They got Kendall. The two tight ends were. I know Kendall Blanton
Yeah.
only had maybe the one catch, but to get Kendall Blanton and Tyler Higbee involved, you're utilizing now the two tight end sets because you're thin there. And then again, it was quiet for Cooper Cup for the most part. Allen Robinson didn't do too much. I know Tutu Atwell got a couple of plays, but didn't do too much. Brandon Powell was also another one that was kind of creatively used, in the backfield. You know, try to get him vertically. I know it didn't really materialize like they wanted to hit for him, but you could tell they were making an emphasis to get Brandon Powell involved in the game early, and it helped because they got into that was the other guy I forgot, Brandon Powell, that had a big play too. So to just get creative because you don't have Van Jefferson, you don't have Brian Allen, you're down to your third string right guard. Rob Havenstein went down for a bit. He came back. That would have been a big blow for them. So good thing to see Rob back on the field. But other than that, they got creative early, and then it just stalled. I think it caught up to them. The numbers caught up to them maybe a little bit, but they took some shots down the field, Victor. I think, but Stafford missed, I think, on two deep shots. I forget which one was the first one, but the second one was to Cooper Cup, and maybe we're overshadowing a little bit with the Cam Akers stuff because he had a big part in it. But the play of the game could have been. Sean McVay said it was a play of the game for him when he escaped. I want to say Xavier Collins from the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Might have been a
Savion Collins.
might have
Yes,
been maybe in a face mask, but he got him around. He spun around, and then he threw
through a
first
laser.
threw a laser first down pass because it was a third. I want to say third and 10, third and 11, and after that they got momentum going. So clunky game for the offense, but overall there was some creativity and there was more explosive plays. That I couldn't say explosive. There you go, because we didn't have enough explosive plays in the first 2 weeks of the season, Victor.
Yeah, but what matters is they got the win, and Sean McVay, like we talked about, he continues to, be his mastery over the Cardinals and Cliff Clinsbury. Your final for final thoughts here, as I know you have to go, and so one of the things I wanted to just talk about was give a shout out to that offensive line. Once again, even as banged up as they are, they allowed one sack, so that's one in each of the last two games. So but give us your final thoughts for the Rams to win over Arizona.
Yeah, I don't want to end up negative, but you got to get more than 20 points, and I know they got 31 last week, but they had a near collapse there. So there hasn't been a clean game. The defense is doing its job for the most part. Special teams, did okay with the Michael Hoyt punt block, and then he had a couple of field goals from Matt Gay. But start scoring more points. Get Allen Robinson involved. And Cooper Cup having a down day for his standards, it's not the end of the world. But they're getting creative. Just get better with the limiting the stall. Like when they slow down, they stall for a big chunk periods of time. So I think for me, it's like getting that offense humming, and especially when you have a big game against the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and then lastly, as we end the show here, give us your who gets your 12 pack of beer as the player of the game.
Yeah. Again, we got to find a sponsor for this segment, but because I like to drink
Yeah.
Mexican beer, I will give my 12 pack of Mexican beer to Cam Akers. I know we've mentioned Cam Akers' name a lot on this show, but a lot of people were doubting the guy, saying like, you're not the same dude after the Achilles injury. You've lost a step, and he brought that up in the locker room. He said, "Yeah, I'm aware people have said that I've lost a step. It's okay. I'm motivated." And he was running angry, like we said. So, I know he had the fumble, and it leaves a bittersweet taste in his performance, but it's okay. They got the win. So I say, have yourself a cold one, Cam Akers.
Yeah, for me it's Darion Kendrick. I'm gonna stay with the offensive line from with the defensive back. Sorry, I mean you come in and you have 9 tackles. Yeah, he probably got killed. He allowed Hollywood Brown to get 14 receptions, and that's gonna happen. But he kept everything in front of him, and you got to give the kid props for that. I know Jalen Ramsey got the game ball after the game from Sean McVay, and deservedly so. But for us here, we want to reward like the guys that aren't the big stars when we give out our 12 pack of beer, especially like a nice Mexican beer. We want to make sure we reward those that are not big names.
Yeah, hopefully Darion Kendrick and Cam Akers enjoy the 12 pack player of the game award. There we go. Maybe I'll tell them one day, hey, we have awards here at House of Horns, and maybe they'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm honored for the 12 pack player of the game award. But Victor, I got to head out and write a story here in Glendale, Arizona. I got one more story to go. But I'm seeing people are watching this, and hopefully in the future they give us some questions, give us some comments. But hey, we got over 130 something subscribers on YouTube, so people are liking the content. But hopefully we get more engagement in the future. But Victor, if you have anything else, I'm ready to close this out.
Well, hold on, no, we can't leave without you plugging your stories, man. We need to know where they can find us. where they can find your stories and what it is that you got coming out soon.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give love to the defense and how they shut down Kyler Murray and the story I'm about to write right now. My current gamer story right now on Cam Akers and the offense is currently up at the OC Register LA Daily News. You can look at my Twitter. I just tweeted out the link at G Manzano 24. So I'm all over the place. Give me a follow. I would greatly appreciate that. But Victor, I'm ready to go. On that note, y nos vamos, pues, vámonos.